Translating trade. For the first time, large volume meat buyers, both in the U.S. and worldwide, can see trade documents in another language.
We've got 41 now. Our hope is to grow it to at least 200.
A group of rare bison will now call their native land home. The way these new residents will change the environment around them. And making 1 gallon of ethanol may involve a lot less corn. The change in production that is shifting plans for corn crops and trading nationwide. Well, thank you very much for joining us here on the Market Day Report. I'm Abby Powell-Turpin. We do begin with the very latest on the highly contagious strain of bird flu. It is now threatening exports of U.S. poultry. The outbreak was first confirmed in an Arkansas turkey farm on Wednesday. More than 40,000 turkeys at a Boone County, Arkansas flock had been affected. Now, that in turn has prompted export restrictions of U.S. poultry in more than 40 countries. 2 outbreaks were also confirmed earlier this week at a farm in Missouri. Shares of Tyson's Foods have fallen very sharply following those reports. Now, also, the confirmed case, in Missouri has the Kansas Department of Ag monitoring an area of southeast Kansas for the virus as well. One health expert says a response team is in Cherokee and Crawford counties at this time. The agency asked backyard poultry owners to alert health divisions of their flock, and this will assist agencies in monitoring and preventing the spread of that disease. Well, yes, the March contract expires today, and for more, we head live to Chicago to Rfd TV's Angie Miles to see how the markets are reacting. Angie.
Well, the March contract is mostly going out with selling today. The one exception happens to be wheat. There's some scrambling by short covering, sending wheat up 5 3/4 today. Corn and soybeans are trading around the lows of the day as the dollar trends higher. However, traders tell me that corn does have a limited downside. Also, keep in mind, traders are awaiting planting and production news expected at the end of the month. That could lead to a sideways market going into next week. A hot spot may be forming, though, in soybeans. I noticed large open interest building today in the May contract for soybeans. On to a look at the weather. Rain across the Ohio Valley and deep south today are expected. Forecast also is calling for mostly dry weather over the weekend. The rain hits the plains next week, which could help crop conditions. Reporting from CME Group, I'm Angie Miles.
All right, Angie, thank you very much, and we'll check back with you in just a bit. Well, U.S. corn exports to Cuba have decreased from 800,000 metric tons in 2008 to 200,000 tons in 2013. And the National Corn Growers Association says that it is largely due to financing and trade restrictions. After a recent visit, one member says Cuba has the potential to be the 12th largest market for U.S. corn, but other countries with less trade restrictions are currently serving their market. Corn is a protein source for farm fish and seafood, so trading corn with Cuba would expand their fish and seafood production, helping the economy and increasing demand for corn and other feed sources. Although President Obama announced some changes to U.S.-Cuban relations last December, NCGA says that making Cuba a full trade partner requires congressional action. Well, it is taking less corn now to make ethanol. Projected demand by the ethanol market for U.S. corn was lowered by 50 million bushels. A new USDA report shows a higher rate of conversion than previously assumed as the reasoning. Ethanol production has continued to get more efficient and now will require much less. The National Corn Growers Association president says it sheds light on the concerns by U.S. corn farmers regarding ethanol production improvements. The USDA is putting $66.5 million into research for specialty crops and also organic ag industries. It is called the Organic Agriculture Research and Extension Initiative. The idea is to fund research projects that would identify new business opportunities and also strengthen local markets with specialty crops, which include fruits, vegetables, and tree nuts. It would also develop new and improved seed varieties. Grants will be funded through the Specialty Crop Research Initiative. Pre-applications are actually available right now, but they are due March 30th. For complete information on the program, log on to rfdtv.com and you can just click on the links section. Grain sorghum is a rising crop in the state of North Carolina, and there is a new initiative for producers to increase production. The Mid-Atlantic Feed Grain Initiative says 100 bushels of grain sorghum per acre is attainable. Sorghum is competitive profitability-wise, at these yield levels, and the Mid-Atlantic Feed Grain Initiative Alliance seeks to show growers the opportunity grain sorghum offers.
We have a lot of upside potential in yield in sorghum. at the given price that we have today means the growers have less invested in per acre in that crop, and yet could see returns that are very similar to soybeans in North Carolina.
Well, demand for locally produced grains, specifically for livestock feed, have skyrocketed, and it's important for growers to increase acres to meet the demand livestock production company Murphy Brown and other entities nationwide have created. Well, the final details are coming together for this year's National Ag Day festivities in Washington, D.C. Rfd TV's Janet Adkisson reports the Ag Council of America, or ACA, will spearhead those festivities.
In less than a week, this patio here at the U.S. Department of Agriculture will be filled with tables, a hungry crowd, and an energy that's here to support the nation's agriculture industry. National Ag Day is Wednesday, March 18th, but the annual Day of Recognition has become more of a multi-day celebration with forums, student sessions, and Hill meetings. The Cattlemen's Beef Association has long been a supporter of Ag Day, and currently NCBA's Colin Woodall is serving as ACA chairperson. He says the annual event highlights the dedication and passion of those who farm.
It's about telling our story and making sure that we are doing everything we can to connect with the consumer and, more importantly, connect with the decision makers here in Washington, D.C. to help them understand the challenges that we have as farmers and ranchers, to understand what we do as farmers and ranchers.
Those unable to attend the Washington, D.C. activities are encouraged to participate in regional events or in their home community by helping to educate young people and other consumers.
We have found out that Ag Day celebrations are going on across the country. So we've been very successful in the recognition of Ag Day as a program, making sure that those resources are available.
That information, including educational materials and planning tools, can be accessed at the Ag Day website. We have a link to that page at rfdtv.com. In Washington, D.C., I'm Janet Adkisson, RFD TV News.
And this year marks the 42nd anniversary of National Ag Day. A new network that is just for women, and they have to be in agriculture. The invitation to build a unique community.
We're talking about quite a bit of rainfall to the southeast, and the warmest temperatures of the year happened this weekend. We'll talk about that just ahead.
And a new initiative hopes to bring more grain sorghum to the North Carolina area. What's driving demand in the Mid-Atlantic region? Welcome back, everyone. Well, the areas in the plains right now, of course, need to see some rain. And for the very latest, let's head over to meteorologist Joe King.
Abby, good morning to you. We're seeing a lot of rain to the southeast, but as you said, we're starting to see a trend for some very dry conditions, not only to the northern plains, but stretching down to the central and the southern plains. Let's take a look at the national map, and we're seeing some rainfall coming up from the Gulf. We have a lot of Gulf moisture that's going to funnel up through the Tennessee Valley and in through the Ohio Valley. Severe weather could be a part of this because we're going to be very warm. Temperatures headed into the weekend will be into the mid-80s down by the Gulf Coast, but as we transition a little further north into the Ohio Valley, just light to moderate to heavy precipitation at times. The other storyline we're going to talk about is those dry conditions through the northern plains and the central plains, and we're having an issue with some topsoil moisture. So we like to talk about our trends for the ranchers and the farmers in the planting stages, and the lack of moisture plus an increase in some moisture temperatures. We're having some winter wheat dormancy break. Now, winter wheat breaks dormancy around 39 degrees. Our soil temperatures will be up in the low 40s to the 50s. So a spring freeze injury could be an issue with some winter wheat, but the good news is our morning temperatures will generally trend above freezing here, at least for the first part of next week. But dry conditions are going to remain through the northern plains and through the central plains. And just ahead, we'll talk about some warmer temperatures coming up for the weekend.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. For the first time in 150 years, dozens of bison are roaming the prairie land of Nebraska. They were brought to the state back in January, and now they have been transferred to the open grounds where they are going to stay. Rfd TV partner with NBC Nebraska's Eamon O'Mara takes us to their new home.
It took more than 6 weeks, but the first bison Nebraska has seen in over a century are now set up in the Crane Trust property just south of the I-80 Alda exit.
And the whole reason we slowed down the release was to make sure they were calm, make sure they weren't going to challenge the fences, make sure they weren't going to challenge each other. And when our bison coordinator felt comfortable, we released them to this piece.
The bison can go anywhere in the 350-acre space. Right now they're all herding together, but the fun is still to come as other popular animals are on their way that haven't seen bison on this land in a long time.
It's going to be fascinating to see how the cranes interact with them, how they affect the different grasses. They create wallows that's going to affect insects, and those insects will attract different birds. So it's a chain reaction. It really is the circle of life.
Now, while the bison have 350 acres to roam around in now, the plan is to give them 1,200 acres as the herd continues to grow.
We've got 41 now. Our hope is to grow it to at least 200.
That may not sound like much, but considering how few genetically pure bison are left worldwide, it's quite the rare sight.
We have almost 50 of 5,000 of the genetically pure bison, and our plan and absolute goal is to keep them pure.
However, as the Trust is preparing for 25,000 visitors this month to see the sandhill cranes, they're asking for patience from the public when it comes to the bison.
The bison are new, the bison are just discovering their habitat, and so we're kind of trying to keep people back away in March and so that the big crowds don't come.
And that was Eamon O'Mara reporting. And that Crane Trust is also a nonprofit organization dedicated to the protection and maintenance of critical habitat for whooping cranes, sandhill cranes, and other migratory birds. Well, there are a lot of great moms out there. I know my mom's one of them. But if you know of a mother in agriculture that's going above and beyond her daily duties, you can now nominate her for the 2015 Farm Mom of the Year program, and it gives her a chance to win $10,000. To submit an entry, you can write in 300 words or less on how the farm mom contributes to her farm, family, community, and agriculture. Simply visit rfdtv.com for more information and on how to enter. And also, you do need to start writing right now about your mom, sister, wife, or daughter because the deadline is at the end of this month. Some change that you might want to keep. A new quarter represents an important part of ag history 153 years later.
Abby, we had a good start to the cattle trade today. It's been a strong week all week long, and when we got to mid-session, things kind of fell apart. We'll talk about the drop in the cattle market right after this.